what would have happened if Jose lived in Mystery Lies? Oh boy, this is a question that I have seen a lot, and actually, we have it answered somewhere in the series. Let me show you.
I should have told you about it. It would have all been different if I did so. I'm to blame for this.
And what would I have done if you did warn me? I probably ditched my job and run away with him. All I have to do now is get used to the fact that he's gone.
As you can see, here Camila states that she doesn't know what she would do if she finds out that her husband is actually the perpetrator of the crime she's been investigating for the last few months. So what would she do? She says that she'll probably run away if she found out that he was the murderer prior to his death. So, let's dig in on that a bit. Let's imagine that Jose does in fact live. This poses a very, very important question, which is the following. How would Camila find out? Well, we have a few versions. Firstly, maybe Houston would have finally gathered enough information so that he can expose Jose's true identity to his girlfriend. In hopes, of course, of winning her over, because we know what type of person Houston is. The second is, what if Camila doesn't rush to kill Jose and shoot him without knowing that he is actually her boyfriend? What if she sees him right there on the ledge? What would she do? Well, now that is a very interesting question. She would most likely be in complete shock, as you of course would expect. But would she still shoot him? No, of course. And what would she do? Here, to be honest, I've thought about it a few times while we wrote Mystery Lies with Fresherr, and I've always came to the following conclusion, which is that it would be kind of similar to Money Heist. So, those of you who don't know, Money Heist is a Netflix series, and basically it's divided in 3 parts. The first part actually is the only one I like, but that's just my opinion. So, there we have a police investigator, the detective who is he's a police inspector, sorry, and her name is Raquel. Oh my god, we actually kind of match character names. Just to be clear, Mystery Lies wasn't inspired by Money Heist in any way, even though now that I put the two, they kind of seem familiar, but the concept is very different. We just have a few names in common. So what would happen is then in the series, by the way, you can skip like 20 seconds ahead if you're currently watching the series and don't want to get any spoilers. The police inspector, she falls in love with the mastermind behind the crimes that are happening in the series. So what she does is she runs away with him. So I imagine something similar. She would run away with Jose, but that poses a question. Jose isn't the type of criminal to live off of his crimes. He committed one crime and then actually like a few crimes afterwards, which is like breaking and entering and saving Miguel from the police department. But he doesn't live off of crime. For him, crime, it was just to avenge his father that was killed after he won a political campaign. So what would the two of them do? Well, of course, I imagine that Jose's best friend, Miguel, would come to save the day. As we all know, we've seen it in the series, Miguel is a character who appears in all of our series. And by the way, now that's an interesting question. I wonder how we're gonna integrate him into our next series, considering that it's back in time. Very interesting. I might have a few ideas and I'll need to discuss them with Vesco before we write it. So, Miguel, of course, would propose that Camila and Jose start following the same lifestyle as he does, basically traveling all around the world and having a part-time job that he can do from basically anywhere. Now for Camila, she is a bit closer to the police, so it would be kind of hard for her to break all of her connections, to break the ties. So it would go for drastic measures. It would go for going all the way across the world. For example, in a remote country, somewhere that communication isn't well, somewhere that people don't have access to, for example, television, or primarily to television, of course, and other types of medias, because as it is inferred in the series in Mystery Lies, this is a case that not only shocks the whole Brazil, it shocks the whole world. Even Houston, he is a British detective and he is very good at what he does. So what the police decides to do is that they will send Houston over to Brazil so that he can investigate, and to be honest, he does his job quite well, because as you know, he suspects Jose from the very beginning, but it's his reasoning is kind of jealousy. So that, by the way, poses an interesting question. Would you guys think that if Houston wasn't a love interest in Camila, if he wasn't in love with Camila, would he still have a grudge against Jose, like, from the start? Because, well, I, as a writer, can answer this, but I am curious to hear your opinions on this. So yeah, they would run away in another country, and here I think that if the series ended like that, and there would be room for a sequel, which would be them running around the world and Houston trying to track them down. Now this would be very interesting, because as we know, Houston is somebody who definitely knows what he's doing. He's working towards his goal, and then in the second series, in the second season, we would have seen kind of a character development from Houston, and his main goal, aside of course from the murder, his main personal goal being to basically not seduce, that's not the right word, to win Camila over, to actually catch Camila and Jose. So there would be a feeling of disappointment that turns into rage, anger, that fuels Houston's passion to catch these two. Because firstly, he has somebody who he was in love with, and then he completely breaks and violates the work etiquette, the code of their profession. So that again is quite the serious reason for being upset. And of course we have Jose, who is a criminal that now fled. Of course, here Jose and Camila would need to do and Miguel would need to do a very, very good job, because hello, they can like involve the whole world into tracking them down. Wanted posters, commercials, medias could get involved. That's something very interesting actually. But there is no room for possibility because we made Jose die, and Jose died for a reason. It was to kind of like the things that people do for love. So for example, if we have the aspect of love in our previous series, which is basically In Your Arms, that you guys are familiar with, we have the aspect of love as in romance, you know, cheesiness, teenagers. Now here, love and all of these other, you know, passions, emotions that come with it are taken to a completely new level. We have love as not in like a cheeky teenage crush or following love. We have love as something that you're willing to turn your whole life over for. We have, of course, love accompanying jealousy, being accompanied by jealousy, but not the type of jealousy that is, oh my god, no other boy can have him. No. It's the type of jealousy where you're willing to ruin someone's life in order to get what you want. So we're taking all of these emotions, all of these sentiments, and blasting them to a completely new level. So I got a bit sidetracked, but those are the stuff that I have wanted to say for like forever. So yes, and what would happen is here I think that we would kind of get like a glimpse into their past, all of the characters. For example, where do you see Camila's parents appearing? Houston, Raquel, Paulo. Oh, would Paulo die? Paulo would most likely die because the police storming happens either way, and he kind of sacrifices his life in order for him to save his workmates, quote unquote. So we would see a dive into the family of Camila. Of course, they would be disappointed. I imagine a family that is heavily involved with the law. So a family of people who are either lawyers or work in the police, no matter like what post they hold. I imagine people that are very involved and take this job very seriously, their jobs very seriously, and that have a very tight history with law and order. So they, of course, would be pretty disappointed in Camila, and actually, I imagine that they would not only be disappointed, but again, kind of share the same emotions that Houston has. They would be furious. So, of course, they would want to completely stop Jose, because in their eyes, Jose is the person who compromised their daughter, of course, and, you know, who was the cause of their perfect daughter who was moving up in the police hierarchy to become a wanted criminal and like travel the whole world just so that she can escape. So all of that, there would be so much rage that is centered towards Jose. It's unreal, literally unreal. Would they be found? Now that's something I cannot describe, because determining the ending of a series, so basically in this case the hypothetical second season of Mystery Lies that is not gonna take place, just clarifying that because Jose died, determining the end of a series, you can't just, you know, have an idea of a series and know how it ends. Yes, of course, you can have very basic information. For example, we knew that we wanted Jose to die in the end. We knew that we wanted that Layla ends up with somebody in the end of the storyline. However, you can't really figure out who kills Jose or how exactly it happens. You just have that brief information that something happens in the end of a series, and you can't really work with that much. So creating the finale of a series, of a script, it's very elaborate, because you don't just plop it in there. You build it, you take each connection that the characters have, each thing they have said, everything, all of these little bits and pieces, you put them together into one big stuff, and then BAM! You have the ending of a series, because an ending of a series is not just how the plot for the main characters ends. So, for example, the ending here, we saw that everything kind of like got resolved with Mystery Lies. We know Camilla's fate now. She is sadly a widow, I guess you could say, even though they weren't married yet. We know what happened to Jose's father. We know what happens to Jose's mother. She went to pay Camilla a visit, and she sadly expected her son to do something like that because of how moved is a positive aspect, because of how disappointed, shaken up, and even like he was broken by what happened to his father. We have Raquel and Houston, who kind of like find some similarities there. So there you go. Paulo is dead. The Big Silva is dead. We see that Belinda actually snitched on her family. Bitchy move, if you ask me. But you see all of these stories getting resolved. You can't just resolve, one thing. For example, like, same as Mystery Lies, we couldn't just, like, make Layla end up with one of her love interests, and then suddenly, oh, bam, like, that's the end of the series. No, we need to figure out what happens with our amazing character, I love her so much, with Luna. We need to figure out what happens with Layla's parents. Of course, we have her dad who was in the picture. So the principal, all of the other characters that the viewers have grown attached to. So it's a very elaborate process. But in conclusion, I would imagine that Jose and Camila would run away, and it would be another worldwide scandal where they would have to run for their lives and their whole families will get involved. And this is very interesting to think about. I love making these. Thank you for watching it up to here. Now, in the last minute, I have a little announcement to make for those of you who watched it. So, don't worry. I know that the majority of our videos between In Your Arms and Mystery Lies were filler content, quote unquote. That was what if videos, and sometimes they were a bit far-fetched and like too stretched. This is not going to happen with Mystery Lies. We have a lot of interesting videos coming up. Let me just take the time to explain this real quickly. We have the 3,000 subscribers milestone video coming up. We have the casting call video coming up. We have the Q&A to do. We have a special event that hopefully will involve a lot of people that we have planned. We just need to see whether we can make it a reality. We have a lot stuff that are coming. And for example, the Q&A, it's going to be like a 73 questions with Vogue, which means that it will actually be body acted, recorded, and properly edited instead of just like standing at a mic and answering questions. So we have these very fun ideas, these very fun plans. However, this type of video is the quickest video to make, and I really needed to do that this week because Vesco is sick, sadly, and he cannot take over for me, and just academically, these 2 weeks have been really hectic, but after the 1st of October, I should be free. So I will get back into working on the channel. Vesco will get back once he recovers. Wish him a steady recovery, guys. And back at it. We're coming back at it. So by the time this video has been uploaded, actually, we'll already most likely be back at it strongly. So if you want exclusive content, of course, we have launched our 2 membership plans. And if not, don't worry guys, you'll still get plenty of content. It's just that's like an extra step to support the studio. Don't feel bad if you can't. Thank you guys for watching. I love you all. Bye bye.